In this video, you will learn how a simple aircraft component, worth about the same as iPhone earphones, brought down a Boeing 737 worth over $100 million and cost 88 lives. And it triggered a chain of events that no one could stop. Within minutes, the aircraft would lose control, and the pilots would realize they were no longer in command. How is that even possible? It all started with a barely noticeable anomaly. One of the instruments showed a value that didn't match the others. At first, it looked like a minor error, but from that moment on, the situation began to spiral out of control. This was a routine flight over the ocean. The aircraft climbed to cruising altitude. Everything was calm, no deviations. Thousands of flights happen like this every day, and almost all of them end the same way, quietly. The aircraft moves steadily through the air. Autopilot maintains altitude and direction. Everything is predictable. Everything is controlled. This is exactly how it should be, and that is why the first signs of a problem are so easy to miss. Inside the cabin, a familiar scene. Some passengers look out the window, others read. Some simply rest. Nothing unusual. In the cockpit, the same routine. Instruments are stable, the aircraft holds its course. Everything is under control. But then, something begins to change. At first, barely noticeable. One instrument shows a value that doesn't match the others. It looks like an error. That happens. But within seconds, the difference becomes larger. The readings begin to drift apart. The aircraft starts behaving strangely, very subtly, but noticeable to the pilots. They feel it immediately. The aircraft is no longer responding normally. The pilots make a correction, but the response is unexpected. The aircraft does not react as it should. The pilots try again. Small corrections, careful inputs. They are trying to understand what exactly is happening, but the aircraft gives conflicting feedback. One moment it resists, the next it overreacts. This is one of the most dangerous situations in aviation, when the aircraft behaves unpredictable and there is no clear explanation. Instability begins to build, and within moments, the shaking starts. At first, mild, almost unnoticeable, but it quickly gets worse. Control becomes less predictable. The pilots continue trying to regain control. They are doing everything correctly, but the aircraft behaves differently. And this is where the situation begins to escalate rapidly. The aircraft changes its attitude. The nose starts to drop, slightly at first, then more and more. The pilots pull back on the controls, but again, the response is not what they expect. The aircraft enters a dangerous condition. The angle becomes critical. Control is nearly lost. And all of this happens within seconds. At this point, the situation becomes extremely difficult for the crew. The problem is not just the loss of control, it is the uncertainty. The aircraft is giving mixed signals. Some instruments suggest one thing, others suggest something completely different. The pilots have to make decisions in seconds, but they do not have a clear picture of what is happening. They try to stabilize the aircraft. They apply corrections, again and again, but each input leads to a different response. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. The more they try to correct the situation, the more unstable the aircraft becomes. In aviation, this is one of the most critical scenarios, when control inputs no longer produce predictable results, and time is extremely limited. Every second matters, and every decision can either improve the situation or make it worse. And the most important part, the cause was not the weather, not fuel, not pilot error. The cause was located in the tail section of the aircraft. There is a mechanism there that controls the horizontal stabilizer. It is one of the key control systems. It maintains balance, stability, the aircraft's attitude in flight. Inside this mechanism is a worm gear, a small component, but critically important. It is responsible for moving the stabilizer. The stabilizer itself is a large aerodynamic surface. It controls pitch, whether the nose moves up or down. Even a small, unintended movement can affect the entire aircraft. That is why this mechanism must be precise and reliable. And over time, it began to wear out. But wear alone was not the main problem. This mechanism must operate with proper lubrication.
Without it, it is simply not designed to handle the load. But in this case, lubrication was almost absent. Metal began grinding against metal, slowly destroying the surface. At first, this is invisible. Then the first signs of wear appear, then scoring, then deformation. And eventually, the mechanism reaches a critical state. It can no longer function as intended. The stabilizer moves incorrectly, the aircraft loses stability, and the situation goes out of control. A massive machine, weighing tens of tons, depends on a single small component, a component that can fit. What would you like to see next? Why do entire ships sometimes disappear without a trace? The story of a single mistake that changed the course of a war, or a disaster that could have been prevented in just 5 minutes. Let me know your choice. 1, 2, or 3. This was What, Where, and Why channel. Thanks for watching.